What looks like quiet ground often hides encounters decided in only a few breaths. On one side is venom reflexes and a lightning-fast strike. On the other is speed endurance and the ability to read even the smallest movement with precision. And once the distance closes, the balance can change in an instant. Across low grass, a king snake suddenly lunges at a copperhead and locks tightly around the neck, leaving almost no space for a counterstrike. The copperhead twists its body, trying to break free, but the king snake's coils tighten further, and the resistance gradually begins to slow. King snakes tighten in repeated waves of muscular contraction, enough to reduce blood flow within only a few minutes. Copperheads rely heavily on their copper-brown camouflage and often remain still until the final instant before striking. As movement across the grass begins to settle, the king snake holds its position for a few more short moments before easing its grip. The ground falls quiet again, a reminder that precision can sometimes decide the entire outcome. On a ranch, a Texas indigo snake moves slowly toward a western diamondback rattlesnake, which keeps its head low and tracks every movement ahead. As the distance narrows, the Texas indigo suddenly launches forward, striking at the head and locking onto its opponent. The western diamondback twists to form a defensive posture, but the indigo keeps steady pressure and leaves too little space for an effective counterattack. The Texas indigo snake has an extremely sensitive sense of smell, constantly flicking its tongue to gather scent molecules and process them through the Jacobson's organ. The western diamondback carries hemotoxic venom, and its strike can be completed in about 175 milliseconds. As movement gradually fades, the Texas indigo begins to swallow its prey, and the dry ground quickly returns to stillness. In an open patch of ground, a coach whip snake clamps onto the tail of a rattlesnake, trying to pull its reactions offline. Held from behind, the rattlesnake instantly coils the front half of its body, raises its head above the ground, and waits. At the right moment, one powerful strike drives straight toward the head, forcing the coach whip to release and pull back quickly, before another lunge can follow. Once the distance opens again, the encounter ends, as a reminder that even a tiny miscalculation can change the rhythm of the entire contest. Across rocky ground, a king snake seizes a rattlesnake and quickly wraps tight coils around the mid-body. With each steady compression, resistance begins to slow. Even with the head partly controlled, the rattlesnake continues thrashing, forcing the king snake to keep an extremely precise hold. Some king snake species carry serum proteins that improve their tolerance to rattlesnake venom. In rattlesnakes, peripheral nerve reflexes can sometimes continue briefly, even after the body has largely lost control. When the final movement fades, the king snake slowly begins to swallow its flexible jaws, widening enough to draw the entire body inward. On that stretch of ground, the encounter closes with a clear lesson in adaptation, patience, and evolutionary advantage. Behind the ranch, a slight movement through low grass reveals a king snake already wrapped tightly around a rattlesnake. The rattlesnake tries to turn its head and strike back, but every time a small opening appears, the king snake tightens again and locks firmly around the neck. King snakes have powerful longitudinal body muscles that allow them to maintain steady pressure for long periods without exhausting themselves too quickly. Rattlesnakes depend heavily on fang angle to deliver venom effectively. The thrashing grows weaker, the body slows, and the king snake holds the same point of control before adjusting to begin swallowing. Sometimes victory is decided simply by holding the right moment long enough. Across rocky ground in southern Arizona, a baby king snake suddenly locks onto the body of a baby diamondback rattlesnake.
Just keeps biting it.
The young rattlesnake twists hard and tries to bite, but the compact coils of its opponent keep the body axis stable and prevent the head from gaining enough leverage to break free.
Yeah.
A baby king snake already shows fast target orienting reflexes soon after hatching. A baby diamondback rattlesnake may be young, but its venom glands are fully functional within the first weeks of life. Movement gradually becomes less frequent, and after only a few minutes, the ground is left with one small snake still holding the point of control.
I bet he'll get away.
The encounter continues across open ground as a king snake moves, first wrapping tightly around a rattlesnake before the other snake can fully settle into a defensive posture. The rattlesnake raises its head, searching for a strike angle. But the moment a gap appears, the king snake delivers a quick bite to the head and keeps steady pressure around the body. King snakes have jaws lined with many small backward curving teeth that help hold a target in place. Snakes also have rapid peripheral nerve conduction, but once circulation is reduced, counterattacks weaken noticeably. As the body begins to loosen, the king snake slowly adjusts its angle and starts swallowing headfirst in slow, controlled motion. At very close range, timing often matters more than the first explosive move. Inside an enclosure, a king cobra suddenly surges forward and locks onto the neck of a green rat snake with one clean strike, establishing control almost immediately. The green rat snake throws its body into sharp bends to create leverage, but it lacks the strength to break free, and each movement gradually weakens. Holding steady pressure for several minutes, the king cobra gradually weakens the movement of its opponent until everything goes still, then begins to swallow. Sometimes the outcome is decided the moment the first position is controlled. Continuing the hunt, an indigo snake follows the trail of a small python. It closes in, then drives straight toward the head before the other snake can fully coil. The python tries to wrap and create enough space for constriction, but the constant pressure prevents it from forming an effective hold. Indigo snakes have exceptional endurance and remain highly active even under the hot conditions of semi-arid ground. In young pythons, once head control is lost, the force of the coils often declines quickly. As resistance slows, the indigo snake keeps the body axis stable and begins swallowing headfirst in steady motion. In longer encounters, endurance often decides the final moments. In a confined space, a small python suddenly wraps around the head of a king cobra in what looks like a final defensive attempt after the initial close approach. The king cobra does not waste energy by forcing harder. Instead, it holds position and waits for small changes in the rhythm of the coils before tightening slightly to reinforce control. King cobra venom acts mainly on the nervous system, gradually reducing motor signal transmission. In contrast, the muscular endurance of the python determines how long its coils can maintain force. The python's movement begins to slow as reflexes weaken and control gradually shifts toward the predator. Sometimes the ending comes not from speed but from quiet changes inside the body. Beside a stream, a cottonmouth notices a rattlesnake moving into the hunting area and immediately lifts its head, tracking every small movement. The rattlesnake rattles in warning, but the cottonmouth continues forward slowly, then suddenly delivers a fast bite to the head that leaves the rattlesnake stunned. Cottonmouths are semi-aquatic snakes, usually measuring 2 to 4 feet, with thick, muscular bodies that allow efficient swimming. Rattlesnakes use pit organs to detect the heat of warm-blooded animals, even in low light. The encounter remains brief, and the cottonmouth slowly begins to swallow its prey. Where territory and food overlap, every step carries the cost of a choice. When the final movement fades, the ground returns to its quiet stillness. What remains is more than the outcome of a confrontation. It is a lesson in patience, adaptation, and choosing the right moment. And across those silent stretches of ground, the next test is always waiting.